Hey guys, welcome to Serious Laughs. This is episode 29. Feel better in one day.
How spiritual healing affects the mind and body.
Hey guys, I'm Molly, and today it's Laundry Friday in the Buffum house.
Hey guys, I'm Sheri, and I am a human navigating on this spinning rock we call Earth. And we have the wonderful, the healing Shaman Peter. We are delighted to have you. Guys, this is a real treat for us. Peter is the author of Release Fear and Anxiety in One Day. Or I'm going to repeat that. He is the author of Release Fear and Anxiety in One Day. There should be a line out the door for this book, just by the title alone, especially now.
Who doesn't want that?
Peter, yeah. I mean, you've had over 10,000 sessions with clients. You've traveled and studied extensively in South America. You've trained with master level teachers from around the world, and you began this research of healing medicine in 1978. So you are here for us with such a wealth of wisdom and insight. We're just delighted to have you. Thank you,
Yes.
Peter.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. I really just want to kick it off. We kind of had some emails going back and forth. And I would like for you to speak on or speak about the divine one within.
Okay.
The God within us. What can you tell us about that?
Perfect. So the divine one within is all of our gifts and talents and abilities, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, our beneficial gifts and talents and abilities, lifetime after lifetime. And so when we dropped our body, transcended, crossed over, whatever you want to call it, before that divine one within was a little spark, and it went up to the universe. I call the universe God because it's all quantum physics. You can call it whatever you want, pure source, infinite intelligence, whatever you want, creator, it doesn't matter. And so on insemination, when the sperm hit the egg, a little light came down and interwove with that. And that little light is our gifts and talents and abilities, lifetime after lifetime. It's our spirit. And incidentally, it's great that y'all call your podcast Serious Laughter, because that's what nourishes the spirit, laughter. And the soul is nourished by breath, and the body is nourished by eating foods that are grown with light. And there's I can get into that. It has to do with the electrons and all that. So getting back to what we're talking about, that divine one within, that is a God. You know, you could say it's God, it comes from the universe. And that has characteristics. And the characteristics of it is love, light in the moment of service, and neutrality. Neutrality. I'll repeat it. Love, light in the moment of service, and neutrality. And when you are, so what I have people do, their awareness is usually in their head, right? That's the divine one within, your awareness. That's why it's so important to be aware in the moment, because you're attached to that divine one within. Okay, and you're expressing that divine one within. That is that's what you're doing. And so therefore, what I have my clients do is pick an image. It could be, it could be a lot of people have hummingbirds, butterflies. It could be a rainbow, like my daughter has a rainbow. It could be just it could be anything, a rubber duck. It doesn't matter. But have the knowing that that's a symbol for your divine, all your gifts and talents and abilities. That's what we're going to. That's your peace. That's your fulfillment. That's your prosperity. That's your everything we need. Okay? That's what we're seeking. Happiness is our divine within. And I'm pointing at my chest because we move that divine within. Wait, let me back up. Imagination is real. So intention interwoven with imagination creates image and action. All right. So imagine, and intention interwoven with imagination creates image and action. So what I have, and the awareness, like I said, is usually in the head. So we move that awareness with our imagination down into our hearts. And the heart is the main manifestation mechanism that we have available to us. The heart sends, proven, 6 times more information to the brain than the brain does to the heart. I call the heart the main brain. I know they say the gut is the main brain, but I call the heart the main brain because that's where we manifest out of. That's where unconditional love comes from. Now, that's where we start. Now, again, and so what we're doing, I'll remind you, the characteristics of the divine within are love, light, in the moment of service and neutrality. Love, it's not, it's not human love, it's spiritual love. And light has codes in it, codes of information. It's just like the atom is supposed to be 99.9% nothing. Well, that's energetic information. And that is called the void. I call it the void. And when you get into that void, you're part of God, the universe. So I can get into the void, and you can too. It just takes a little bit of effort. My wife calls me obsessive. I say it's passion. I call it passion. So anyway, I have, okay, let's do it with y'all. Pick a subject. Pick a symbol for your divine within. Remember, these are just rental vessels for this short time. Your spirit was never born. It'll never die. That's the bottom line. And so you pick a symbol or an item. It could be anything.
Okay, I got one.
Okay. Okay. You got it? Okay. Now, move that, close your eyes, and focus on your breath, and move that symbol for your divine within. It can change, by the way, down all the way through your throat and into your heart. Now, we're breathing an organizing principle. I studied with the Kettle shaman in Peru. They speak Quechua. So we're breathing their organizing principle of Kamai. That means the breath of God. All the scriptures worth their salt said life started with the breath. So we're breathing God's breath. That's the force in Star Wars. That's why it's so important in yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong and martial arts. So just breathe in to your little symbol. And because y'all are allowing me, I'm going to work on y'all. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm going to do my thing here. So what I'm doing is I'm extracting, which is the main thing that we do. We extract everything that you're not. So thinking is only 2% of everything. 98% is where we go. 98% is the invisible world, and the invisible world is more important than this physical world, because we're not really we can't realize the truth of anything, because everything's an illusion. You see that water and this table, they're just vibrations, and they come into our eyes as vibrations, and we're hearing vibrations. If you hold your throat and talk, you're hearing vibrations, and it comes into our ears and our eyes, and our brain transforms it into what we think a table is, or a light is, or a bottle is, or a phone is. So we're transmuting. Our brain is transmuting that into what we know as a table or a chair, because it's all vibrations, including us. We're 99.9% empty space. So there's no reason why we can't be connected to God all the time. Okay, you can open your eyes. I'm finished. How do you feel? Lighter? Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's the proof in the pudding. Lighter. Okay. So when I work on my clients, this is just a little taste of it. When I work on my clients, they get into oftentimes more so than not, they will access that divine within, which is in another consciousness. We can't solve anything using the same consciousness that created the problem. So we have to use it.
I'm sorry, we can or we cannot?
No, we cannot.
We're not. Okay.
We cannot solve anything using the same consciousness that created the problem. Therefore, we have to use a different consciousness. And because this divine within is in a whole nother dimension, hence a whole nother consciousness, we use that to heal us. So now what we do, and what I just did for y'all, is we extract what's called hooches. Hooches is a Quechua term. Hooches is a generic term for fear, shame, guilt, doubt, and all that kind of stuff. And it's etc. Now, so when we can, so we also transmute the programming and the conditioning that you think you are, because all thinking, studied with, the Keto shaman in Peru say that all thinking is irrelevant. And I studied with an incredibly powerful Avatar instructor in Brazil, and he says, thinking makes you stupid. And it really does, because we're trying to solve a problem with the same consciousness that created the problem. It can't be done. So now this is when you're in the 2%. The 98% is where we have all the healing. The 98% is where our inner visionary channels hang. It's where the God within us is. That's the invisible world. And more, that's the quantum physics of what we do. And more scientific research is going to come out and prove this, Okay, now, so therefore, that's how we work. We extract anything that you're not, including, and everything has a complementary opposite. So maybe extracting isn't the right saying. Since everything has a complementary opposite, possibly transforming it or transmuting it is the right way. So we transform guilt into innocence. We transform fear into safety and security. We transform stress into ease. We transform resentment and anger into forgiveness. And it's forgiving yourself love. That's it. Forgiving yourself love. And we extract betrayal and abandonment and those things from your heart into unconditional love. Now, and there's an organizing principle that we can't love or forgive anyone more than we can love and forgive ourselves. That's really important. When you can love and forgive yourself, I'll tell you an experience that I had. I was married for 17 years. And we had 3 children, beautiful children. We're still really good friends. In fact, my current wife and my ex-wife, former wife, get together and I think they talk about me. Okay, so, but that was human love. And then I started to love myself. And I got married again. I got divorced and married again. And about 5 years into my marriage, I started to like myself. And then all of a sudden I started to love myself. And it was a completely different feeling. And I kept saying, Kathy, I can't believe how much I love you. And I wasn't saying it for her. I was saying it for me because it was a whole different fulfillment. It was a whole different sense, And so that's what we're after, that kind of love. That's the love that our divine within has. Because our divine within is pristine. Questions?
And I was going to say I love that story. And everybody has the ability to find that love from within. And so is this why clients are coming to you? Like, is that kind of the first step, is to recognize that love from within? So
Well, some people, you know, everybody comes to me because they're guided by their spirit. They may say, I don't feel good and all that stuff, but they may say, I have blocks, you know, but they come to me because they're guided by their spirit. And it's time. It's time for them, because when you're ready, the mentor will come, you know, and I'm not necessarily, I'm just sharing my information, you know, sharing the information. And also the saying is that when I get a client, he or she is coming to me to heal something in me. Okay. So whatever I'm working on, they're working on me too.
Huh.
We all share each other. You know, we all heal each other. And that's the bottom line. You're healing me, I'm healing you.
Because we're interconnected and we all have wounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
but it's the willingness to look within that creates the light.
And that's exactly right. And so, you know, when I work with people, all of a sudden, you know, trying is force, expecting is force, and allowing is power. That's the bottom line. So in this paradigm, we can't force anything. And expecting is trying. So therefore.
Ooh, expecting is trying.
And
expecting is trying. Yeah, because it's hope, it's energy.
Yeah. And
it's taking you away from now.
And we say you're pigeonholing spirit when you expect something and you don't get it, but you're getting something else, but you don't realize it.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's cool. But anyway, doing enough of this work, you end up just defaulting into it. Like you're defaulting into a program. Well, you don't have that program anymore, so it makes room for you to default into more beneficial stuff. And so, you know, you default into it without even knowing it. Like I had a client, she was walking into a parking lot. She wasn't trying to do anything. She walked into a parking lot and into a building. And the guy said, I was watching you and you're exuding such confidence. It's amazing. And so she didn't try, you know, it just happened. In fact, Archangel Michael said that trying gets in the way. Now, he said we try too much. Not, you know. Anyway, so trying is a human thing. It really is, and expecting is too. Okay, so I also had this other client, and she said, you know, I don't. She had a glass of wine every night. She said, I'm not having, it doesn't resonate with me, and so she's defaulting into that clarity. That's what we do. We give you clarity by saying we. If I have a counsel, you know. And then I have another client who said, I just don't have the need for chocolate anymore before she goes to bed. You know, that's what happens. You're defaulting into, you're removing or transmuting the programs and conditioning, and you're defaulting into more beneficial stuff. Because by thinking, there's 2% and 98% of everything. And 2% is personal. It's, get this, it's I, me, mine, positions, possessions, and it's even conceptual understanding. That's 2%. I, me, mine, positions, possession, and conceptual understanding.
Perceptual or conceptual?
No. Conceptual, I'm sorry. Conceptual.
Oh, no, you did say that, but I just want to make sure. No. Conceptual.
And the 98% of everything, the quantum world, or the invisible world, is perceptual experience. And that's what my clients get into. They get into perceptual experience. That's the bang for the buck, spiritual bang for the buck. Because then you get it, then you experience true power. And true power and sweetness go together. Power without sweetness is force. Like I said, we don't want to force anything in this paradigm. Sweetness is an umbrella for gentleness, kindness, compassion, inspiration, clarity, gentleness, patience, perseverance, persistence. That's the 3 P's of spirituality. Patience, perseverance, and persistence. You know, on Buddha's last breath, he said, matter decays, practice diligence. And diligence is patience, perseverance, and persistence. Mm. So, you know, power, sweetness, again, is an umbrella for inspiration, gratitude. Gratitude, that frequency, that vibration of gratitude connects us to the divine within, which is part of God, aligned with God, right? So that divine within, and we all have that, we all have God within us, you know. God is in everything, you know. We're all quantumly entangled with everything and everyone, you know, not by our wounds, but just out of our intrinsic abilities. Now, let me back this up. What I did with y'all was, you guys, was I removed any intrusive energies. And intrusive means coming from the outside. Exogenous, I think, is the word. And so these energies.
What's the word? Misogynist?
No, exogenous.
Oh, exogenous. Okay.
Yeah, coming from the outside. I could be wrong about that. So intrusive energies are emotions, energy and motion, right? And especially when we're an empath, we pick up energies from everyone else, you know. And now we can also pick up beneficial, high vibrational energy. But what we do pick up is hooches, okay? Guilt, shame, fear, and doubt. Those vibrations, because everything vibrates. Everything. We're just one big vibration. That's why when you're exuding fear, you'll pick up fear. You know, it's like a magnet. When you're guilt, you'll pick up guilt. Shame, you'll pick up shame, you know, from others. So that's what we extract. We extract those. Now, it's also, believe it or not, it's also possible for us to pick up an intrusive entity. Now, it's not a dark entity. When I say entities, people immediately go to dark entities. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's just a person who died, and the frequency of their consciousness comes into us. And so that's when people don't feel right. That's when people don't feel whole, you know. And so this is the person who died, that frequency, they're walking around, they don't know they're dead. And the frequency is just looking for the closest place to be nourished and nurtured until they can find their way home. So what I do is I extract that, and I have 2 angels pick it up and go home, bring them to the home, wherever they want to go, you know.
Are you able to determine when you meet someone who has an entity that resided in someone's spirit, or is that something you can't?
No, I can't read them, not unless I have their permission. Yeah. So that's reading them, right? Can't do that.
Okay.
Because I'll suffer the karmic result.
Oh, but with their permission, you're able to.
Yeah, I can do that. Oh, yeah.
If I give you permission now, can you read anything like that?
For you, Sheri?
Yeah.
I think I just did.
What do
Okay,
you
so
mean?
let me see something here.
You have my permission.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay. So you're an empath. Did you know that? Okay.
Yes, I am. I feel everything.
Yeah. So you can use protection, and that's in my book also.
I need protection. I'm getting this book.
Yeah, and we can do, you know, the protection mechanism has to be pronounced loudly so you can really experience it. And you may have a prescription to do it so many times a day. And once you get it under your belt, then you can do it. Then you can do it in your mind when you're in front of somebody, in your head, that intensely. But see, it's done so intensely, the protection mechanism, which was taught to me 20 years ago by a Ukrainian shaman elder, the protection mechanism, you do it so severely and feel it to get it connected into the neural pathways and cellular memory so that you can recall it at the drop of a hat. So, maybe we could do another.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I was wondering if, and I've been told this before by someone spiritual, that I had a dark energy around me. This was a good 10 years ago.
Okay, let me check that out.
You have my permission.
No, I'm getting you don't have one.
Yay, they left. Okay.
Get the hell out of here.
Maybe you never had one.
Maybe I never had one. That's good. So no, okay, good.
No,
thank you.
So, it's time to end.
No, you're good.
No, I wanted 2 episodes. We can.
Yeah, we can always split it. Well, how did this come to be? Did you have parents that were into this kind of thing, Peter, or how did you get here? What's your story?
I'm kind of the dark horse in my whole family.
Oh yeah?
I'm the ugly duckling.
Well, you're not ugly at all. You're the exception. You're the light in the darkness.
And that's what I think. People say I'm weird, but a shaman in Lafayette, Louisiana. Go figure. So anyway, that's.
I wanted to ask you about the 21-day fast in Brazil, where you meditated and were told you don't know anything. Could you tell us about that?
Okay, well, that's 2 different things.
Okay.
I never even considered the power of angels. And I went to this place in Brazil, and several times actually. And one day was what's called the process. And that's where you do a 21-day fast. The first 7 days, no water. And then you fast for 21 more days. Anyway, that's when I had, by fasting, you're raising your vibrations. So the term is we have to meet spirit halfway, right? And so in the middle of, and I wrote 3 journals. I filled 3 journals with information from the angelics. So I'll give you, this is in my book. So one night I was sleeping. No, I wasn't sleeping. I was awake. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a noise that I didn't, I said, that's a different noise. And then, do you know what a djembe drum is? A djembe is like an hour-shaped drum.
Oh, well,
yeah. An hourglass-shaped drum. I had my wife's djembe there in my room, and I heard plucking on the strings, and you never hear that. So I knew something was up because there were angels everywhere. And then all of a sudden, out of my bed, from the bottom of my bed, an angel showed up. Just came out, she started talking, and I was writing down what she was talking. She said, write all this shit down. I'm sorry. Write all this stuff down.
A cursing angel. Serious laughs.
Yeah.
Learn about the cursing angel.
Yeah. And so I was writing down, and then all of a sudden, being a shaman, shamanically, I was taught shamanically. All of a sudden, anything that comes up from the lower world, you have to be very, very careful of. And so all of a sudden I started going, what's going on here? She came in from the lower world. She disappeared. She dissolved. And then get this, Glenda Goodrich floated down from the Wizard of Oz. And I said, you could talk to the facilitators at night. In the evening, they'd ring a bell and you'd go join. And I said, my facilitator, my gifted, her name was Angelique. And I said, Angelique, why did they send me somebody that why did the first one go away? And why did Glenda Goodrich come on? She said, because they wanted to send somebody you would trust.
Because what?
They wanted to send you somebody that you would trust.
And the first one you wouldn't trust?
Well, right when I started thinking, she went away. Right when I started doubting, she went away.
Okay.
Right when I started getting into a little bit fear, she went away.
Huh.
But the energy brought you, the spirit world, the divine brought you Glinda the Good Witch in a manifestation because that represented trust for you. Yes. It was what you needed.
That's exactly right.
Like you said, spirit meets the divine. Yeah.
So that's when I was first introduced to the angels. Not the first, but in this place called Piraconga, that's what they do. They nourish and nurture a safe haven for the angelic realm. And so that's when I first, now this is a different thing. I've been studying this stuff since 1978. And in 2006, I got the message that I don't know anything. And I thought, I've been studying this stuff for how long? Since 1978. And then a little bit later, I got a message, call them downloads or whatever you want, that I don't need to know anything. And all of a sudden, a great weight was lifted off my shoulder. And then I got information that if it's not, I was in Brazil studying with another enlightened facilitator, and she said, if it's not coming through in the moment, it's not truth. It's not truth. If it's not coming through in the moment, it's not truth. Hence, that's a validation for the divine one within's characteristics in the moment. Love, light, in the moment of service and neutrality. If we can stay in the moment, and when you're in the moment, there's no programs or conditionings. So our goal is to stay in the moment. Now, but who can stay in the moment? Your ego can't stand to give up control, so it's going to distract you somehow. It could be a good thing. Could be what you have to do after this. It could be, but the act of meditation is being aware of that and pulling yourself back to that, in this instance, breathing into your divine within. That's the act of meditation. Okay? And so people think you have to have a clear mind. Well, nobody can have a clear mind for an extended period of time because we're humans. We're not supposed to. And life is going to continuously show us ways that we're not free. That's the bottom line. And so if we can keep that in mind, no matter what vibration we are, it's going to continue to show us. So when you see the big picture, I'm going from subject to subject, but when you can get clear and see the big picture, so and looking down at in silent neutrality, then you have the realization that everything has a complementary opposite.
Hey guys, that's a wrap on part 1 of episode 29. Stay tuned next Thursday as we wrap up our interview with Peter. Remember, when everything's going wrong, it just means you're crafting a great story. Stay tuned for more episodes where we turn life's lemons into laughable tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep finding the best and the worst, because life's too ridiculous not to laugh at it.